Amen. So love lifted me. Why I love this church is because of the words of the hymns. It's not just pretty music, but the words speak. And as we get ready to, the country gets ready to celebrate the merry monarch, I get ready and continue to celebrate the monarch of all, the King of kings and the Lord of lords, the earth that belongeth to the Lord, the majesty that is in heaven, the great power that is in heaven, the creator of all things visible and invisible. So I stand here on the side of the hill, I'm hearing a sheep bleating in the distance. I seeing folks moving around in the bushes, doing things, having a wonderful time out in the sunshine, looking at the trees and the birds, hearing the birds in the distance, and the animals scurrying in the bushes. It's really a beautiful creation scene. And I wonder, how did I come from the city, the heat, the all these things of the city, loud music, to these beautiful songs of nature and reality? How did I get here? Well, the song that I remember is Love Lifted Me. Love lifted me when nothing else could help. Love lifted me. I remember those words that I've come to know, and I can reflect on. There is no way I could have escaped the city. There is no way I could have escaped the spirit that is out in the streets today, in people's minds, in people's hearts, and urging, as I had been urged, to go out and masquerade, become what I am not, I become somebody else, become something that is not true, because there's nobody out there who is truly what you see. I know people, we like to condemn those who come out with no clothes and behave lasciviously in the street, but it's a thing that is a spirit that pervades and that causes us all in our different ways to go out and just basically go against God. But so there is nothing else. There's nothing else but love. When you think of the love of God, who died for me on the cross, I sing songs from our hymnal like Love Lifted Me. I sing songs like Lest I Forget Gethsemane, Lest I Forget Thine Agony, Lest I Forget Thy Love for me, lead me to Calvary. When I go to Calvary, I can see that even while I was God's enemy, he decided, he chose me. He decided that he would go to that cross for me. I'm like one of those thieves on either side of him who were there for because of what we have done, because of the things that we have committed. When I stand and look at the cross and I see him there, I think, why is he there? Why is he there? I know why I am here. I know because I have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. But this man, as one of the thieves said, has done nothing. He has done nothing, and he's only there because of me. So when I look to him today, I remember that scene of Calvary. I remember the nails in his hands. I remember the nails to his feet. I remember the love in his eyes and the sadness in his eyes for me. When I look and I see, I think, I'm lifted. He said, when I am lifted up from the earth, I will draw others up with me. So I could look across and say, Jesus, remember me when you come to your kingdom. And today I ask us all in the presence of all that's happening around, all the merrymaking and the jumping and the spirit and the preparation to do it even worse the next day, and even worse and more spectacular, they call it, the next day. Help us. Help me, because I need help. I have a great pain in my heart because I used to be one of those caught captive by that spirit. So I ask all those who know God, who have a relationship and who are close. Let us pray for deliverance as somebody prayed for me to be delivered from it. Let us pray for love to lift those who are in the throes of that spirit, who cannot help themselves. Let us say, Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. Even as Jesus said on the cross, for those of us who didn't, let us pray, Lord, to choose them, pull them out from the mire as they are, as I was in the mire. I ask you, as one who has been there and who has had people like you to pray and to deliver us out of it, I pray for all those who cannot see, cannot hear, and who cannot walk before God, that they are enabled to be drawn to Jesus. For no man cometh unto me, said Jesus, unless the Father who sent me draw them, and I will raise them up on the last day. But this is where we are going now. We're coming to the last day, and we're all heading to the next destination on our pilgrimage, heaven, our eternal home. Lord, hear us as we cry unto thee. Forgive us as we forgive others, and deliver us. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Amen. Amen. I want to thank Sister Alison for her time in devotion. And I know there are some folks on camp who are listening to us this morning, and I just want to say that you are doing the best thing. I am seeing the politicians grappling with the issue of crime, and they are at their wits' end. And the more they speak about crime, they speak about it more from the position of prevention through punishment, through a penal system, through policing, through the whole idea of more laws and more draconian laws like that. And it is innate to man to practice what his nature, what he has become through what we'll call nurturing. And if it is in him to practice what he called nurturing, then this morning I want to say to those who are so inclined, or the powers that be, that the only way for us to deal with this crime situation is by the whole idea of nurturing. I say that because this week I was looking at a research that was done across the Caribbean. And one would think that crime or murders in the Caribbean, Trinidad and Jamaica must be on top of the list. And I was surprised to know that it was Nevis. Nevis, who had some like 64 murders for the year, happened to be the country with the most murders per capita because their population was some 60-something thousand. And when they walk it through Trinidad, was fifth on the list. After 613 murders, we still made the sixth country for murders in the Caribbean. That means, therefore, what we are seeing is a murder wave through the Caribbean. What we are seeing is that people are killing people all over the Caribbean. And what we need to recognize, we need to see what do we have in common. It's not a Trinidad phenomenon now. It's not a Jamaican phenomenon now. It's all through St. Kitts, Nevis, St. Vincent, Grenada. You just name it. High murder rate. And when they put it per population, Trinidad ended up fifth. I think Jamaica was third. But countries that you didn't expect to be high in the murders per population, they were there. If I am to find a solution for this, the first thing we ought to do is see what is common in this population. What is common? And what is common, and I'm speaking about in the nurturing of the people of the Caribbean. You see, you cannot stop me from doing something that is inherent in me to do. It means, therefore, you need to deal with that inherency that is in me. That thing is in me that is driving me. That is what you need to deal with. You need to deal with where it started. Who started it? And if we look at the population from that angle, we'll go back to nurturing. We'll go back to the family. We'll go back to see why in the Caribbean, the Afro population is within that Afro population. You have most of the murders being conducted. Then you got to go back to the schooling of the Afro population. You got to go back to the parenting of the Afro population. You got to go back to the value system of that population. And that is where you begin to make changes. It's not by putting more guns on the street. It's not by hiring more policemen. It's nothing about that. It's simply about getting into the nest and dismantling the factory. And how you dismantle the factory is by studying the factory. We live in a country that people don't care about facts and data and statistics. Just any stupidness come from the mouth. That is true. But that will have us in this position. Because we continue to say all sorts of reasons for it. The police are lazy. There's too many corruption in the police force. There are too many bad eggs. They ought to bring back hanging. And all sort of hogwash that has nothing to do with the phenomena that is before us. We need to go to the root causes. We need to go to the demographics of those who are doing it. And we need to examine how they were trained, how they learned, and how they became who they are. A word to the wise is sufficient. Now, this morning, I will do my promotion if we have time at the end. I do want to have to stop. But this morning, I am dealing with an issue, the making of boys and girls. It is an issue that it is running off of what I just spoke about in my word to the wise. But it's an issue that will help people to understand what is happening in the society. There are constant arguments about how boys become boys and girls become girls. Most people believe that they are born that way. But those who believe that become very inconsistent when the idea of homosexuality is discussed and in their understanding of deviance. I want to begin today's discussion by going over a feature that I have done many times on this program in bringing an understanding of human development and behavior. I will say again, many of us know what Tarzan is. We saw Tarzan and we have an understanding of why Tarzan was the way he is. But sometimes we leave it there at the movies, failing to understand that we are socialized based on the things that are around us. And how you can justify that? Ask yourself, if you were the only human being in this world, would you have been the way you are now? What behavioral trait that is present in your action would you have done? The answer is none or nothing. Nothing that you do now you would have done if you were the only human being in the world. Your actions, your actions would have resembled the closest animals that you are aligned with. No language, no culture, no personality, no value system. Just an animal you would have been. This is so because humans, unlike animals, are creatures of their environment. They learn through the senses. Animals, on the other hand, are creatures of instinct. Some people say to you that boys and girls are born, but when the LGBTQ folks use that as an argument to explain the way they are, these same people say that's not true. If we are to say boys and girls are born boys and girls, then why is it untrue that homosexuals are not born also? What are we born with? And I'm saying this, I'm not saying that homosexuals are born that way. I'm just saying this, if your argument is that boys are born boys and girls are born girls, how could you veer away from the idea when the homosexuals say we are born this way? What are we born with? A body structure that God intended for procreation, for protection in the intended roles. God wanted a family and he created the body structure for it. and began a process of teaching Adam and Eve. Every day in the cool of the day, he came and sat with Adam and taught them until sin entered the picture. And sin was also passed on from then to us now. I want to categorically state that we are born male and female, which is indicated by our genitals at birth. But every other aspect of who we are is made through learning, prenatal and postnatal. We learn violence, we learn kindness, love, sex roles, and every societal role, culture, language, accent, and level of tolerance. All manner of behavior is learned. What creates the differences between boys and girls is what I will be examining this morning. People in relationships often have strong expectations that their partner will be just like they are, exhibit the same attitudes, values, perceptions, and behaviors. However, we know that you will not change your partner's attitude and behaviors unless they are motivated to do so. You are even less likely to change their basic gender characteristic. So it is very important to educate yourself as to the basic gender differences and that exist between men and women, and accept the fact that the differences are there, they are real, and they are not going away. In this way, you can learn to use the differences as a way to enrich your relationship rather than to damage it. Research has shown that men and women are different, but these differences are not. Let's look at the evidence in a variety of areas of life. These findings, I want to say to you, these findings are generalization and the summaries that apply to most men and women might not exist in all. But I want you to understand this morning, as those who have been listening to me, I do not speak from hearsay. I speak from research. I speak from empirical evidence. So what I'm saying to you is not my belief or my attitude or my feelings or a hypothesis that I want to bring before you as truth. That's not it. What I'm presenting before you are research from various bodies. Girls develop the right side of the brain faster than boys, which lead to talking, vocabulary, pronunciation, reading earlier, and better memory. This could have a direct relationship with how the male child and the female child are handled in those early years. And when you say, well, how is that then? If girls are developing faster than boys, then they are different. They are different in the learning. We'll come to that. Boys develop left side faster than girls. Visual, spatial, logic skills, perceptual skills, better at math problem solving, building, and figuring out puzzles. Boys in the early years are given toys that demand certain mental interfacing. So while girls get toys that bring differentiation, and we'll come to that, but I just want to make sure you understand where I'm going. But from an early age, the toys that are given to boys they call for fact, not carrying trucks and vans. They call for a certain sort of interfacing. And that sort of interfacing that create in the boys that left side that he better than girls are. Girls are given certain type of toys that grow their interest in toys with faces, play with stuffed animals and dolls. Boys are socialized to blocks or anything that can be manipulated. Girls are more socialized to comfort, socialized to show emotions, socialized to see different things and see different objects and see different things in a different way. That's their socialization. And that grow into their being. It manages their mind. When the Bible says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he's old, he will not depart thereof. The Bible is saying to you that when you train that child, is in the training of the child learn to think. He don't think to make the choices. You train him in a certain way. And based on that training that he was trained in, that child will learn to think in a certain way. So you train him into violence, he will go to think violently. You train him to love and caring, he will go to think to love and care. And whatever you train him in, that will guide his thinking. Both men and women speak louder to to males than female infants. They are softer and express more cooing with females. Males are rarely told that they are sweet, pretty, little doll. Males are told that they are pumpkin head or hey, big guy. Males handle more physically and robustly than females and bounce around more. Females are caressed and stroked more than males. Up to age 2, mothers tend to look at their daughters significantly more than they do with their sons and make more eye contact with their daughters as well. Their dream for their daughters are greater than their dream for their sons. And remember, the mother is the primary source of socialization. More than the father, she interacts with the child. And from that early age, the mother interacts with the daughter different than she interacts with the son. The mothers show a wider range of emotional responses to females than male. When females show anger, mothers' face showed greater facial disapproval than when males show anger. This may influence why females grow up smiling more, are more social, and are better able to interpret emotions than males. Fathers use command terms with males more than females, and more than mothers give. Fathers will be rougher than the little boy, and the little girl. So the environment is created, the thinking pattern is created, and the child, that male child, is being fashioned and formed into a boy. And that female child is also fashioned and formed into a girl from a very, very young age. Nursery rhymes, books, and cartoons perpetuate stereotypes, which often promote damsel in distress, frumpy housewives, helpless senior citizen, sexy heroine, and swooming cheerleader. The very nursery rhyme that they learn in school give girls a different outlook from they give boys. Or I should say male and female. All this goes towards shaping the role type of the female and of the male. Female use more terms of endearment than males. Males get away with more aggressive antisocial behavior in school and at home than females. Yes, throwing tantrum for males is more acceptable than females. Even when a bad word is slipped from the mouth, it is treated differently when it is done by the male than the female. Even ramping in the yard and dirtying up their clothing, the male is treated differently from the female. And little do you know, I'll tell you something. The accent that I'm speaking with, my mother never put me to sit down and tell me this is the way, the physiology I needed to use in the language. No, I picked that up. And from the age of 2, 3, I was speaking with this accent. And if I can pick up something as nebulous as an accent, think about how many things that you pick up that create that boy and that create that girl. You would think something as an accent. I mean, how do you pick that up? But you do. You do. And the same way you pick that up, although it's so low inflected, you pick up more things as you grow than you know and that you are conscious of. Females who act as tomboys are accepted. Males who act like females are severely reprimanded. Don't cry. Don't be a sissy. What I'm drawing to your attention is the stark contrast in the making of a boy and a girl. Females tend to talk about other people's secrets, to bond friendship and school, wishes and needs. Well, like gossip. Although I will say this quietly, don't tell anybody I said this. I've come to realize that gossip is more prevalent among powerful men than women, preachers and the like. But the issue is females tend to speak about other people more. Males talk about things and activities, what they are doing and who is best at the activity, sports, heroes, and competition among themselves are all activities that they observe to being done by men. And because they see men doing these things, they do it also at their level. And this is a transformation package that turns male into boys and later men. Teenage females talk about males, clothes, and weight. The issue of family and marriage is closer to them since they marry at a younger age. And those issues are in their space more than males. Teenage males talk about sports, mechanics, function of things. They do it because that's what men do, and that's what forms and make them men. They are not born men. They are not born women. Age 12 to 18, biggest event for female is to have a boyfriend. That's a big issue. Age 12 to 18, boys are equally interested in foreign sex and cars and sports, but there's no permanency to these things when the boy deal with it. And that came, we go right back to those early years, in that first 7 years. We go right back to what was done to them with their toys and how they were spoken to and how they were read and how they were loved. And all those things create in boys that sense of lack of permanence. This carried into adulthood when women talk about relationship, people, diet, clothing, physical appearance. Men talk about sports, work, money, cars, news, politics, and the mechanics of things. What I'm saying to you this morning, friend, is that boys and girls are made. I don't know which psychologist will tell you differently, but this messes out of hand. Boys and girls are made. Values and self-esteem as adults. If all if all the above is taught to the opposite, if females were taught the way males were taught from a baby for that first 7 years, and if males were taught the way females are taught and cared for that 7 years, a lot of the young teenagers, the women would have been tomboys, and the boys with that negative connotation they call them sissy, they would have been very, very feminine. The femininity is not born from the womb. The feature that God created, a woman with breasts, and so that she can nurse a child, and softer than men, and men are larger so he can protect her and he can do the work of building towers, and God has prepared us for the society. But God knew the end from the beginning. But the issue of I being a boy and whoever listening to me, female being a girl, those are issues that were taught to. I was socialized to become how I am. I grew up with 6 sisters, two brothers and 6 sisters. Plenty girls in the house. But still, although I had a brother who was second and a brother after me and my smaller brother came last, but we were still trained as boys. We were not around the girls. We were sent outside to play. We were treated in a different way. And those differences is a reason why I call myself a man, why I called myself once a boy. The socializing create men operating as a foreign. One, a man's self, a man's A man's sense of self is defined through his ability to achieve results, through success and accomplishment, achieve goals, and prove his competence and feel good about himself. Boys' toys are toys that have problem solving, fixing the wheel roll out of the car, of the truck, put it back together, snakes and ladders, stethoscope. Boys are geared from an early age to attend to these things. To feel good about himself, men must achieve goals by themselves. For men, doing things by themselves is a symbol of efficiency, power, and competence. In general, men are more interested in objects and thinking rather than people and feelings. Men rarely talk about their problems unless they are seeking expert advice. Asking for help when you can do something yourself is a sign of weakness as men were concerned. Men are more aggressive than women, more combative and territorial. Men's self-esteem is more career related. Men are not put down easily, but they do sometimes. They do. And the reason why they're not put down easily to have all these self-esteem problems is because from a child, they were treated with criticism and not hugging and loving and cuddling and throwing up in the air. They were treated with a certain sense of discipline. So they grow not expecting much. And when they do not get much, they do not react for the most part in any way. Females, on the other hand, have more self-esteem problems because they grew up being embraced, being loved, being called nice name, pretty, being when the clothes is placed on them, everybody looking, some clapping, how they look in that outfit. They are treated differently. And as they grow into that mold, and when it is not coming, they react. And that's why we have self-esteem problem among the girls are higher. And friend, I'm talking research this morning, eh? I'm not talking rum shop talk, all this carnival. I'm talking research this morning. Men hate to ask for information because it shows they are a failure. And wives don't know that. In the car, the husband I can ask somebody now we lost. He refused. He getting more and more lost, but he's not asking. That's because of how he has been trained. All these are issues of socialization, the socialization process. They are not inherent traits that males are born with, but a long process of learning. Many passive and unaware that you are learning these traits and it's becoming part of you. Women, on the other hand, value love, communication, beauty, and relationships. A woman's sense of self is defined through their feelings and the quality of their relationships. They spend much time supporting, nurturing, and helping each other. They experience fulfillment through sharing and relating. When a woman is hurt, especially in a relationship, she will call a friend, a good friend, and get a lot of bad advice from the good friend. But a male, on the other hand, will not call anybody because women value that. They are closer because they was closer to their mother. Their mother kept them inside. She spoke to them. She threw them in the air here and there. And they are always around female talk because the mother friends are usually female. So they are around that sort of talk. And all that is in shaping her to be a girl. Personal expressions of clothes and feelings is very important. Communication is important. Talking, sharing, and relating is how a woman feels good about herself. For women, offering help is not a sign of weakness, but a sign of strength. It's a sign of caring to give support. Women are very concerned about issues relating to physical attractiveness. Changes in this can be as difficult for women as changes in a man's financial status. When men are preoccupied with work or money, women interpret it as rejection. Again, this is so due to the attention females receive in their childhood years. They grow to see it as normal to their existence. Hence, women are more troubled by neglect than men. She wasn't born to expect this because she was shepherded in a way that this was not part of her formative years. And then I want to touch on homosexuality for a small part, because I know we have all sorts of views of homosexuals. If you are of the view that boys and girls are born, if you have that view, that boys and girls are born, then you will have to agree with the LGBTQ community that they are born that way. And I'm going again. Don't you get me wrong this morning. It's easy to do that. If you have the view that boys and girls are born, you are not following what I'm saying. I'm saying they are made. No, you are saying they are born. That's the most of you. So once you say they are born that way, then you have to agree with the homosexual community, the LGBTQ plus A community, that when they say to you that they are born. Because do not tell me that these boys and these girls were born, but these who are neither boys or girls, they were not born, but they were made. See, but if you are like me, then you will come to the view that boys and girls are made, and also will you go for homosexuality being made. For those who are always speaking of Alfred Kinsey's study, where he spoke of chromosome factor in the making of a homosexual, I want you to know that there is no study apart from Kinsey that agree with that study. The rational basis or rational analysis for human sexuality has been mystified by the scientific deception perpetuated by Alfred Kinsey in 1948. Kinsey, who had been a polarized homosexual, has until quite recently, gone unchallenged by the scientific community. And I want you to know the issue where homosexuality was moved from being mental illness to normal. It was not done through science, but it was done through political activism. I want you to understand that. Kinsey used falsified sexual experiments performed by homosexual assistants on prison inmates and others, including children and infants, who were sexually abused to prove that human sexuality followed a 7-point scale from homosexuality to homosexuality with bisexuality in the middle. Kinsey concluded that bisexuality was a natural way of life. Now, I don't know about you. That's some pretty strange to me. For 4 decades, Kinsey work wormed in its way into the moral fabric of Western societies. It became the foundation of the conventional wisdom that homosexuality is normal. When Kinsey testified before the California legislature that sodomy should be decriminalized because 10% of all Americans were homosexuals. Claims by the gay rights movement that homosexuality is a genetic trait and homosexuals are born with and cannot change became the focus of the campaign, the scientific peg in the sorry crusade. The homosexual lobby argument of a homosexual gene is having been responsible for homosexual behavior, and hence it is natural and not deviant, has never, and I want to say, has never been proven. I was teaching a class once and I raised the issue of homosexuality being activism more than science. And a young lady encountered me or came up opposed me, or I'll put the right word. I don't want her to be listening and think I am saying something else. But anyway, she was not in agreement with what I was saying. And she used Kinsley's study to support it. Friends, I know that a lot of you, sometimes I listen on the radio, on the calling program, and I hear you call, and then you will throw up that idea, that Kinsey idea also. Friends, there is no evidence that that is true. In fact, when Stanford University used Kinsey very instrument of his study, they did not had a findings that what he had. Researchers from the Department of Genetics at Stanford Medical School and the Department of Clinical Neurological Sciences at the University of Western Ontario in 1999 study published in the Journal of Science found that there was no evidence to support a presence of a gene of large effect influencing sexual orientation. The scientists question whether a gene inherited from mothers influence men sexual orientation. The fact is, science still can't explain what determines a person's sexual orientation. However, the concept of learning remains the strongest argument. And why? We go back to root cause. You go back to you being the only man in the world. We go back to trying to understand if you alone were here, would you have been the way you are? And the answer is no. And the reason for that is that we are shaped by our environment. We learn to be who we are. We are not who we are based on any gene. We learn our traits. We learn to speak and to walk and to talk and to love and to hate and racism and all these things are learned traits. And while many studies have suggested that if that it is biology and not choice, researchers in 1991 discovered that identical twins of gay men were much more likely to also be gay than were fraternal twins. The conflicting result in these researches have come about through the tenacity of the homosexual lobby to shape and change public opinion. In so doing, homosexuals in the science world continue to present dubious findings to promote the immoral cause that goes against nature. That's why it is like that. Other differences in men and women, men tend to be more logical, analytical, and rational. This is wrapped up in their early learning, the toys that they were given, and the parental approach to teaching males. The mode for boys is carefully followed. I'm not saying that girls are not logical, analytical, and rational, but they also take in human behavior into it. They also take in the phenomenological ideas of human lived experiences. They also take that because they come from a place of caring and nurturing. So when they are dealing with logical issue that requires logic, they tend to be more accurate sometimes because they understand phenomenological behaviors also. Women are more intuitive, holistic, creative, integrative. They are taught to observe things through the type of toys that were given to them. They knew one of these things is not like the other. Boys' toys are the same, from truck to stethoscope, while girls' toys carried many varieties, from dolls to teacup and saucers, and there are many varieties in these things. Some look pretty different. So from an early age, girls are able to distinguish. Remember that song, one of these things, three of these things are the same, one of these things not like the other. Girls are able to identify those things easier and quicker because they were trained to do that. Men have a much difficult time relating to their feelings and may feel very threatened by the expressions of their feelings in their presence. This may cause them to react by drawing or attempting to control the situation through a display of control and or power. This has to do with the training in the early years, not to cry or show emotions. Men are actually more vulnerable and dependent on relationships than women are, and are more devastated by the ending, since they have fewer friends and sources of emotional support. Men are more at ease with their own angry feelings than women are because they were brought up to think that anger is okay. Women knew by the look of the mother, oh, you cannot speak so loud. They are cautioned to behave in a certain way. And they go into teenagehood with that same caution becoming a reality of character. They are made. Men and women are made. Men tend to be more functional in approaching problem solving Women are aesthetically oriented in addition to being functional. Men just wanted to work. Women wanted to work, but they wanted to look good too. I can sweep in the house. Men would just sweep the house. Sweep where the dust can be seen. Women will be turning over the carpet, pushing around the chair, doing this, doing that. Men can leave the house looking the same way for 10 years. Women like to get together and push it here and push this here and move that here. And then they don't do it by themselves and they call you to push it here. And that's why they do it, because they don't have to push it. Women tend to be more sensitive to sounds and smells than men are. And women as such tend to place a greater emphasis on atmosphere. Yes, they love to see how things go. The most frequent complaint men have about women are always trying to change them. The most frequent complaint women have about men is men don't listen. You go back to how women are socialized, and you will recognize why girls were inside with their mothers and aunts, boys were left to play with each other and away from conversation about things regarding the household, things of importance, things regarding tragedy and these things. Boys do not hear those discussions because they are chased outside. Women are there with their mother. She can feel her mother pain because the mother mentioned it to her. Her aunts will talk about things. So she's growing. So that female is growing. Women want empathy, yet men usually offer solutions. When a woman tries to change or improve or correct or give advice to a man, men hear that they are being told that they are incompetent or don't know how to do something or that they can't do something on their own. They are hearing differently from what you are saying to them. Sisters, you think you are helping. What they are hearing is that you are condemning because they grew up in a competitive environment among themselves as boys. While you had been schooled in understanding about pain and understanding about failure and understanding, they are not hearing those things when they're chasing and they're shooting and they're running through the goods and they're playing football and cricket. That's not part of what they are hearing. So when you offer advice, they see that you are putting them down. Men often feel responsible or to blame for women's problem. Men always assume women want advice and solutions to problems because they have been in a space where problem solving is what they have been growing up doing. And they feel that there is the best way to be helpful and to show love is by helping women with their problems. Women often just want someone to sincerely listen to them. Housework, and I said before, men avoid it. They try to get others to do it at all costs. They feel demeaned by doing it. For women, cleanliness of house is a manifestation of warmth, hominess. Men and women have different thresholds for cleanliness and dirt. Again, this has to do with early socialization, where girls are taught to be observant and differentiate and toy play of housekeeping have been part of their upbringing. And that's why when the car do not want to start, hardly a woman will pull the bonnet. Even the man who is not a mechanic will try pulling the bonnet because that's how he has been socialized. How do you find a woman fixing a latch on a door that she could fix? She will still call the husband, call her brother or something to get it done because she has been socialized in that mood. Men often try to change a woman's mood when she's upset by offering solutions to her problems, which she interprets as discounting and invalidating her feelings. And he doesn't mean nothing like that. But he's approaching a different sort of human being from him, who have a different understanding of things than him. But he doesn't know that. He thinks he is helping. But because how she is made, she sees him as trying to put her down, trying to minimize her pain and what she's going through. Women try to change men's behavior by offering unsolicited advice and criticism and becoming a home improvement committee. You know what they do it? You cannot do that, so and why they're not doing it, but they're telling you how to do it. I will open the lines. Don't anybody want to touch on anything before I move on? Alex?
All right, Shirley, let's do that. 622-4911 is the number, and you can call in right now to chat with Pastor Brown, the program Victorious Lifestyle. So, Pastor, you may continue.
Okay, thank you. Now, I know there are men and women who are listening to me this morning. They are wondering, well, what you are saying here is a sort of a maze, a sort of a map, but you can work with these differences. God
Pastor, call
intended
coming
us.
in. Sorry.
Sure.
Let's take this call. Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning to you, Alex, and good morning to Pastor Brown.
Good morning, my love.
Pastor Brown, I just love your topic, and I love what you're saying this morning.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let me tell you what I have observed over the years, that, and you're right, our environment shapes us and molds us.
Mm-hmm.
I have observed that men suffer in silence.
Yes.
And when their challenges are left unchecked, they go to dark places and things happen. Now, let us see how the environment impacts. What do you say? A baby, a toddler who's about 1.5 years old or even a year old and so on, and whining, and the adults will clap. Oh, that is so cute. Because they see the adults whining and gyrating and so on. And really adults clap and so on, and cheer them on. And it is so cute. Right? And finally, Pastor Brown.
But those finally, those no,
get more now than women. And I had to ask, is it the water that we are drinking? Is it the food that we are eating, which they're injecting with all these chemicals and so on, that impacting upon men these days, that they gossip more than women and so on? So it's a lot of things, It's a fantastic topic that we need days, Pastor Brown. And we need more people like you to go into the schools and the churches. Because even in some of my churches and so on, they want to accept certain behaviors. And I wonder, if Jesus was around, what would he have said with the LGBTQ and so on and so forth? He might say, I love the sin and not the sin. Very much.
No. And you see, I was going to ask her there when she said the 1.5 year whining and the others saying to whine and whine and whine. She didn't hear me though. I was trying to tell her she's right, but I glad she raised it because I didn't want to raise it at a time like this. Next, they say I'm trying to mash up the culture, but she's right. And they ask themselves why we have all the teenage pregnancy, why we have the young ladies are among, especially a certain group, why they are so loose, why there are so many single parents, and they're asking themselves all these things without recognizing that it is a behavior that is encouraged. That high sex and that high sensuality behavior, it is encouraged. And a child will grow up to be what you train that child to be. And God, she said it and not me. But I'm just piggybacking on what she said. But that's the reality of the situation. Those little whiner girls and things with the same culture and things, they're the ones who will be having a lot of problems tomorrow.
Possibly have another call coming in here.
Sure.
Good morning. Welcome. Hello.
Hello, morning.
Good morning.
Alex, Pastor Brown.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm listening to you. Very, very, very good topic. However, in spite of the socialization you spoke about, right? There's a biological component.
Talk to me.
Biological component is important in differentiating between the male and the female. Because if you look at the animals, all the
Mm-hmm.
animals, they're born male and female, and instantly they know exactly what role to take. Now,
I
if we
like
would
that.
go back, let's
I like.
say,
You
if it was
you want to take a
one
pen?
man
Let's
in
take
the
a pen.
world, if it was
Okay,
just
that's the
Adam
idea.
and Eve alone in the world, one
Mm-hmm.
male and one female, and life has to start all over again. The males that are being generated will know exactly what role to take, and the females will know exactly what role to take. So the socialization is important in the modern sense, but in the genetically, biologically, there's the hormones there that tells the being to be male or to be female. And that is a point that maybe you need to look at. So thank you very much, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. I want to stop him though. The animals are creatures of instinct. So if I have a dog, a pup, and that pup never saw another dog, that pup will still grow up to be a dog and do everything that a dog will do, that pup is going to do. But if I'm a child never saw another human being, never saw another being. Nothing that human beings are doing, that child will do. And the issue of Tarzan is a fictional movie, but it's a good case of sociology. Because he grew up around the apes, he will think that he's an ape. In fact, in India, every now and then they find some little child in the jungle acting like a wolf and acting like a fox or whatever is living around. If we were not socialized the way we did, we would not have even know if we are male or if we are female. The reason, the four biological things that he spoke about, he's right. But those biological things had nothing to do with behavior, but was God placing man in a way for procreation. So the woman shaped, she was shaped in a certain way, and the man was shaped in a certain way. Even having sex as we see sex, even to have sex, God created the atmosphere for sex, whereby the vagina begin to lubricate, the penis begin to lubricate because they were made one for each other. They were made to have sex. God created man and woman to be opposite. But when it comes to how the behavior and all of that, it was good. In fact, Adam and Eve, God came in the garden in the cool of the day and he talked to them, he spoke with them. And as he spoke, Adam began to blossom and shine and be radiant, and he learned from God. And when sin entered the picture and they were banished from the garden, Adam began to pass on to his generation, and they passed on to their generation what they learned from God, what they learned from God. And all the issues of sin and disobedience and all those things will pass on also. So I agree with you about the biological, but the biological is simply for procreation. That socialization is for behavior and how we ought to behave. And that is why when I speak about homosexuals, I am saying I'm on the side of learning socialization than being born that way. Anyway, it was great. Until those who are in camp, I want to say continue to have a great day. Be safe, my people. I want to thank the callers. And until next week, same time, same place, I want to say to Alex, be careful out there, my brother. Take care of your family. And I'll see you again next week. Bye-bye, everybody.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Pastor. Have a wonderful day and be safe as well. Time check, just a few seconds after 10 o'clock. That was the program Victorious Lifestyle with Pastor Brown every Sunday from